And you're going to have a lifetime warranty, which means you're going to put an end permanently to those issues regarding your windows. That's why they have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. So do not wait to put an end to your window problems. Head on over to windownation.com. You can give them a call today. That number is 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION, or head on over to windownation.com. All right, I think we might have worked out our issues. Devin, what are you thinking there?
It looks good.
Well, we had people that ended up remoting into our system, which is always weird to me when that happens. See, the board that we run off here is actually a screen, right? It's actually a digital screen. It's very, very fancy. Unfortunately, when you have problems, often you don't know how to fix them. So we had to have individuals from a different place altogether come and remote in to try to go and fix the problem. And it always makes me feel like I've completely lost control when I'm staring at a screen and somebody else has got a mouse and they're moving stuff around. It's always... The one that freaked me out the most was I did that recently. I can't remember what it was. It was work-related. I can't remember what it was for. But then they, brought the camera up, and they were, looking at me. And I'm like, how did you know that it was okay for me to have the camera on me at this point in time? So we think we might have our problem solved. I haven't even looked. I'm looking at the talkbacks right now. I don't even want to know. We have no idea what happened, by the way. But let's go ahead and move on. We think we have the problem solved here on Twin Cities News Talk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear out what we've seen so far regarding the talkbacks, and we're just going to start fresh from where we are right now. So let's get to some of your thoughts from the iHeartRadio app this morning. Your talkbacks are brought to you by Lindahl Realty.
Hey, John, I find it amusing that some of these Dems are trying to take credit for putting some fraud prevention bill into play here. Weren't these the same people telling us months ago that fraud wasn't taking place? It was only some 20-year-old snot that was stirring the pot? Interesting.
About the HCMC fiscal crisis, I used to do courier work, and a lot of deliveries were made to the HCMC campus. Considering my experience, they should open a marijuana dispensary on the first floor of the main building. They'll probably cover all their costs.
Hey, speaking of which, I want to just take a moment and talk about one of the amazing sponsors on the show, and that, of course, would be MiniLeaf and MiniLeaf.com. Marianne left a 5-star review at MINNELEAF.com for the night sleep gummies, which gave me another fantastic night's sleep last night, saying the night gummies have truly given me a wonderful night's rest, writes Marianne. The appetite-suppressing gummies work well. I also want to let you know, you can, of course, get all the amazing products from MiniLeaf. They're available at MINNELEAF.com. But you can also find them out at a few different stores. You got the Greenleaf Depot in Savage, the veteran-owned Warrior Garden in St. Paul, where they also help veterans dealing with PTSD, and Pot Mamas in Mendota Heights in Edina. Free shipping continues to be available through the end of May, dealing with the issues, the Strait of Hormuz, impacting shipping prices. MiniLeaf's giving you a break. Head on over to MINNELEAF.com and get whichever products you need. Again, the night gummies are the game changer for me. And remember, Greenleaf Depot and Savage, you can also get your MiniLeaf products there as well. All right, as we continue here on Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 and 103.5 FM. Let's go here. On a lighter note, before we talk automobiles, Devin, are you familiar with Knight Rider?
No, I'm not.
Didn't even. David Hasselhoff?
Heard of that guy.
Okay. If you saw an 80s sleek black automobile that had a red light that went back and forth on the front of the car, would you be able to identify that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's Knight Rider. Big television show, classic TV show. An authentic replica of the famed talking car from the classic TV show has been sitting in an Illinois museum for years. Unfortunately, it received a traffic ticket. The Volo Museum said they received a $50 ticket in the mail from New York City. According to the citation, Kit, that's the car, was speeding in a school zone back on April 22nd. The museum said that the iconic 1982 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am That's the black car I was mentioning earlier. I wasn't aware of the exact model. I was 99% sure it wasn't a Trans Am, but you know what? The way things have been going this morning, I did not want to be wrong at this point in time. Okay. It's been in place and been on display for years. So they believe the New York City system may have linked the speeding car's novelty license plate reading Night, KNIGHT, to the car in the museum. The museum has since requested a hearing about the ticket. What a hassle, by the way. You know whose fault that is? Zohra Mamdani. Let's just put the blame where the blame is needed. So as we were mentioning last hour with this budget deal that took place, there was a talkback that rolled in. You have to bear with me here for just a moment. I'm going to have to go and find it here on Twin Cities News Talk because we've had a lot of comments that have rolled in the wake of our technical difficulties. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow's show in talking with Representative Max Reimer on how this deal actually fell into place and what concessions ultimately ended up being made in all of this, especially when it comes to, like I said, Hennepin County Medical Center as well, and whether or not they ended up making any concessions on what had transpired. But already when I mentioned it and was previewing the story this morning, there were some that were chiming in already frustrated by what they had heard, and I wanted to share one of these comments with you from the iHeart radio app. Let's go ahead and we will hear from. Oh, unfortunately, no, I can't find the talkback. It was a friend of the show, and basically what he was saying is that this was a really good example of how Republicans have screwed up once again regarding this particular issue. And as a matter of fact, you have to forgive me here. I actually did find where that talkback was. Here we go.
Morning, John. I called last week kind of complaining about the Republicans never doing anything with the majority. I know we don't have the majority in Minnesota, but we have a tie. This is exactly what I'm talking about. We give in to the Democrats every single time. They give us a little bit of relief on our tabs that are way out of control, and we think it's great. This is what I was talking about with the Republican Party in this country.
I sympathize with your frustration. I understand why it's there. You make some valid points, but what's the alternative on this? And this is something we'll get into further when Max joins us tomorrow on the show, and why I wanted to take a moment there and find that particular comment. Okay. Because I understand the frustration that people have, but what's the alternative? We continue to keep things shut down. We go to a special session. We don't come to any agreement at all. There still is a job that needs to be done. And unfortunately, given the makeup of the legislature, there are concessions that have to be made. So to the talkback and the friend of the show's frustration, I'll just add, what's the other option here in coming to some sort of bipartisan agreement? Because they have to come to a bipartisan agreement somehow to get something done. And at the end of the day, you need to look at who are the bigger winners and who are the bigger losers in all of this. And understand that there's a point where you have to go, listen, we can try to hold things up for as long as we can. However, at some point, you got to come to some kind of agreement. And this is the situation when you have a priority in the House and a 1 or 2 seat majority in the Senate. Now, one of the concessions that was made were apparently lower property taxes, although we don't know how that's going to be implemented, and a 1-year reduction in your tab fees. Again, still waiting to find out how exactly this is going to be implemented and how much of a break you might actually get on those tab fees. Now, speaking to that, the Star Tribune has an article this morning. We'll go ahead and put it under its appropriate classification.
It's not easy being green, having to spend each day the color of the leaves.
When Michael Anschel bought an all-electric luxury sedan last year for his company, he knew it would be an expensive purchase. The BMW i7 Even the used 2023 model he chose came in with a hefty price tag, roughly $100,000.
Oh my gosh, can you above average at that?
I do find it rather amusing on a number of different fronts here. First off, this whole article is about EV drivers feeling blindsided by the higher tab fees, right? We all are. The change is part of the lawmakers' effort to offset the declining tax revenue. And I understand that this article was specifically written by Christopher Teague in the Minnesota Star Tribune to focus on EV vehicles. But again, maybe we start with the concerns of just your regular car owners. You know, the majority of car owners that drive around gasoline-powered automobiles. On top of the fact that they're using an individual who paid $100,000 for a car as the example. Coming from a paper that is in, or I should say a publication, a news outlet that is in the tank for the DFL that is constantly decrying the rich and saying that they want to help the working poor. And yet we're going to use a dude who, listen, good on him if he can afford it. I'm not begrudging this guy. I just think it's funny that this is the example they decided to use. And Shell, who lives in Minneapolis and owns a local architecture firm, was drawn to the prospect of saving thousands of dollars each year on fuel while he was helping the environment. Ultimately, Ann Shell believed the car was a worthwhile investment, and then he saw the bill for his tab renewals, $2,496.25.
Oh my gosh, can you above average at that?
To which I asked the question again, how much is this $250 million in 1 year tab relief going to have an impact on an almost $2,400 tab fee? Like, if it's $50, does it matter? Nearly $600 of that fee, however, was also due to the car being electric. As more Minnesotans purchase EVs, the Minnesota Star Tribune article goes on to say, the sticker shock of a newly restructured license fee has some drivers feeling like they're being punished for their choice to go electric. That perception potentially threatens a market that has already taken some major hits in the past year, including the early retirement of the federal tax incentives last fall. And Shell and other drivers who spoke to the Star Tribune said they felt blindsided by the high fees, which they believe discourage Minnesotans from adopting the technology that could help the state achieve its environmental goals. Listen, if that's the reason why you bought a car, that's on you. If you want to buy an EV because you feel like you're going to save gas and it's really efficient for you, that's great. I don't care. If you're buying an EV thinking that you're actually helping the environment, you're kind of a fool. Just saying. Minnesota has seen a steady decline in gas tax revenue in the decades, largely due, they say, to cars becoming more fuel efficient. Well, also, there's the whole EV point of this as well, right? To narrow that gap, the lawmakers raised Minnesota's gas tax in 2023 from 28.5 cents per gallon to 31.8 cents per gallon. That's just gross. Can we just stop there for just a moment and just express how gross that is? It's also arbitrary. Like, there's no, just because they want more money. That's all. Oh, sure, they'll claim the whole declining gas revenue. But again, every time something like this comes up now, the default in my brain is to go fraud, 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 fraud. Like, if we had tackled that, we probably wouldn't have this problem. State Representative Larry Kraft, a DFL out of St. Louis Park, says, for a number of decades, we've been underinvesting in our roads and bridges. I mean, before 2023, the only time we hadn't increased the gas tax was after the 35W bridge collapse. The 2023 law made other changes to boost revenue, including increasing the amount drivers pay each year to renew their tabs. And that means all drivers, not just those with EVs, have seen notable bumps in their tab renewal fees for recent years. The additional EV charge, which passed last year and went into effect in January, compounded the costs, especially because both the fees and the scale were priced to the car. The EV surcharge is expected to bring in $40 million in the next 3 to 4 years. For Edina resident Sonia Anderson, the new policies meant a $1,456 bill for new tabs. More than 300 of that came from the EV surcharge. Boy, isn't it just, it's so indicative of Other issues that we talk about and what the Democrats do to their voters. What they encourage their voters to go and do. Now, this was everybody, right, being encouraged. But, Walz is out there with this ridiculous climate policy plan that's just going to be an abject failure and cost you and I thousands of dollars more every single year on our energy bills. But part of this whole climate initiative is encouraging individuals to go out there and buy EVs. And yet you're going to be punished by going and doing so via the taxes that they put upon them. It's not all that unlike when Governor Tim Walz and Thief Ellison and Minneapolis man-baby mayor Mom Jeans encouraged individuals to take to the streets and observe ICE and what they're doing, which really was just putting individuals in harm's way. It's like they don't really care about their voters. Kevin McDonald first learned of the EV surcharge this spring when he received a $900 bill to renew his tabs on his 2023 Hyundai Ioniq. It's the tab fees that are iconic. Confused, he logged on to a popular online forum for EV owners in Minnesota to seek more information. His post ended up garnering a lot of attention, dozens of others of EV drivers sharing frustration over their own bills, which ranged from $500 to $2,500. Some complained that their EV surcharge was far more than an average Minnesota driver pays in the annual gas tax revenue, which lawmakers estimate to be around $200. McDonald says, I consider myself well informed. He works as a unit supervisor at the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, has been in the state government for 38 years, and it just completely caught me off guard. But just like the fraud issue, and we'll get into this in just a moment, the Minnesota House Fraud Prevention Committee released its final report. Representative Walter Hudson had a fantastic post online that this story is a really good example of, especially when it comes to the tab fees. The Democrats go and put in horrible policy that the Republicans appropriately point to and predict will be a complete and total failure. That policy ends up becoming a massive failure, and then the DFL and the Democrats just go and blame Republicans and then say that they're the ones to provide the fix. Or another one you could do is same scenario, but then they only go and address it when the issues become so big that they can't ignore it anymore. It was like that with the tab fees, and it's like that with fraud. The GOP-led Minnesota Fraud Prevention and Oversight Committee released its final report yesterday, asserting that over $9 billion in fraud had gone unchecked in various state-led agencies and programs. We'll get to the comments in here, including just some ridiculous commentary coming from a DFL representative, Dave Pinto. We'll also get to some of your talkbacks from the iHeart Radio app. Those are brought to you by Lindahl Realty. It's all coming up on Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 and 103.5 FM.
Jon Justice, mornings on Minnesota's morning home for the truth. AM 1130, FM 103.5, and on iHeart Radio.
From the Choice Bank Traffic Center.
Good morning. We have delays on 35W northbound from the Burnsville split to Burnsville Parkway. There's a stall southbound 35W at County Road D in the left center lane. 35E slow northbound from Yankee Doodle to Shepard and northbound from Aid Mill to St. Clair. I'm Maria Arnold, and that's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Postman Law.
Another day of chasing the insurance company. Who is it?
Postman Law, injury and accident attorneys. Stop chasing. We handle everything. You just heal. Postman Law delivers peace of mind. Visit postmanlaw.com. Attorney advertising.
Hey, it's Jon Justice here for Mini-Leaf and Minileaf.com. The night gummies at Mini-Leaf, absolutely spectacular. The hours that I keep are odd, and it's often difficult for me to get to sleep in a timely manner. That completely changed once I found the night gummies from Mini-Leaf. Now, at the website, you'll find the night sleep gummies. Marianne left a 5-star review, says they've truly given her a wonderful night's rest. They will for you as well. But maybe you're looking for alternatives to your beer, your alcoholic beverages you typically drink. You need to check out the Spooky Mini-Leaf tonics. They are absolutely delicious, made with this really unique infusion technology. They really, I can't say enough good things about them. They taste fantastic. Fun gummies, delicious chocolates, plus the Triple Diamond Pain Cream, along with a host of other products, all available at minileaf.com. Also, you can find Mini Leaf products at Pop Mama's in Mendota Heights and Edina, the veteran-owned Warrior Garden in St. Paul, and, of course, the Green Leaf Depot in Savage. If you order from minileaf.com for the month of May, taking the pressure off of the shipping controversies relating to what's taking place in Iran right now, Mini Leaf is offering free shipping through the website for the remainder of the month of May. Head on over to MINNELEAF.com and taste happy at minileaf.com.
Hey there, from Northern Fire Grilling and Barbecue Supply. We see it every day. Somebody buys a cheap grill, fights with it, replaces parts, and finally says, never again. Well, that's where Yoder comes in. Most pellet grills are built to sell, but Yoder smokers are built to last. Made in Kansas, heavy steel, rock-solid temps, it's the last pellet grill you'll need to buy. So upgrade your backyard with a Yoder from Northern Fire. With assembly, delivery, and expertise, shop Yoder Smokers at Northern Fire Grilling and Barbecue Supply in Minnetonka. NorthernFireBBQ.com.
You know, protecting your home should not be a headache. Many security companies, they lock you into these multi-year contracts. No, Simply Safe Home Security, they do things differently. With Simply Safe, you get award-winning 24/7 professional monitoring around $1 a day without any long-term commitment. Simply Safe, they just want to earn your trust every day by doing a great job. Right now, you'll get 50% off your custom system by going to simplysafe.com/Hannity. Half off when you go to simplysafe.com/Hannity. And remember, there's no safe like Simply Safe.
When disasters hit and cell networks fail, Rapid Radios keeps you connected. Instant push-to-talk with coast-to-coast range. No contracts, no monthly bills. Trusted by law enforcement, government agencies, and over 500,000 users. Always ready when your phone isn't. Because in an emergency, seconds matter, and reliability isn't optional. Go to rapidradios.com. Use code RADIO for 5% off and free shipping from Michigan. Rapid Radios. Communication redefined.
If you're suffering from burning, tingling, or numb feet, you need to pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Carl of Aspire Integrated Health. What is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is actually nerve damage to the hands, feet, and legs.
And what are the symptoms?
The major symptoms are numbness, tingling, burning, muscle cramps, coldness in hands or feet, and problems with balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It is absolutely treatable, and we can get some great results. Your nerve damage screening will tell you if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our innovative treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe that there's nothing that can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations.
Call 651-318-0887. The first 25 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 651-318-0887. Professional services provided by Aspire Integrated Health. Dr. Lindsay Gillen, D.C.
If you saved more than $500,000, there's one thing you could do right now that can make your savings go twice as far in retirement. You heard me right, twice as far. And it's tax planning. Tax planning could significantly reduce the taxes in your IRA and 401k withdrawals, Social Security benefits, and other investment income. Find out how much money you could save with a free Tax Smart tax review from the good people at Secured Retirement in the Twin Cities. To schedule your free review, call 952-521-4360. That's 952-521-4360. The tax savings could be significant and potentially add up to 6 figures in retirement. So let's find out how much money you could save. To schedule your free Tax Smart tax review, call 952-521-4360. That's 952-521-4360.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. Here's a tale of Becky. Didn't know what to do with new meds prescribed and no real cost clue.
She squinted at prices, that can't be right. Then tapped GoodRx and saw the light.
She can get a deal. Book telehealth if she feels.
Learn about those meds without any stress. That one little app does all the rest. Even my horse downloaded it. Dang, Save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Wish you could save on home insurance? With Allstate, you could easily save and get quality protection. Yep, it's a win-win. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Hello, I'm Robert Smigel. I did lots of things. Cartoons on SNL, Conan stuff, Triumph the Insult Comic Dogs, some movies. But now I'm past my peak. So I'm hosting a podcast, Humor Me with Robert Smigel and Friends. Each week, me and my favorite comedians, writers, and whatnots help regular people just like you, presuming you're regular, who have some project or task that they'd like us to help make funnier.
Search Humor Me on iHeartRadio, America's #1 podcast network, and the Webby Podcast Company of the Year.
Sandvold Financial Group, bettering lives through holistic financial advice.
Have you heard the news? A CIA whistleblower.
The truth was being buried.
The origin of COVID. Alex Murdaugh's verdict.
Once I lied, I continue.
Overturned. Trump's in China and Iran.
Make a deal or they're going to be decimated.
KTLK AM Minneapolis and K27APP Pine Grove.
Twin Cities News Talk.
Listen on the free iHeartRadio app.
For all your music, radio, and podcasts. 2026 is setting up to be an interesting year in Minnesota politics. Jon Justice has it covered every morning on Twin Cities News Talk.
Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130, 103.5 FM. Thank you so much for hanging in with the show this morning. All right, before we get to the House Fraud Prevention Report, later on in the hour, apparently even anti-gun laws that were never passed can go and save lives. That is, if you take at face value what Senator Aaron May Quaid had to say via some recent public statements, so we'll get into that. First off, though, I want to go back to the iHeartRadio app. We had a couple of comments, talkbacks that rolled in, brought to you by Lindahl Realty regarding the tab fees and the EV article of the automobile owners, the EV owners that were lamenting the tab fees while driving EVs.
Hey, John. Hey, if you buy a vehicle that costs as much as some houses, then expect to pay the price of property taxes when you go to do your taxes for that vehicle.
The better question, John, is when, where, and how are the road taxes collected from the mileage put on our roads by that electric vehicle?
Hey, John, Bill from Florida. So basically what you're telling me is that the $172 I just paid to renew my tabs for 2 years, I should be thankful for.
Well, yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you be?
Hey, John, Tim, Kansas City. Yeah, I've called in a couple of times and talked about our tab fees, our $35. You can buy a 2-year for $60, but I've never commented on what an EV tab charge is in the state of Missouri. Interestingly enough, an EV tab charge in the state of Missouri is $35 a year and 2-year for $60.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Thank you for sharing, Tim, as always. We appreciate your comments here on Twin Cities News Talk.
So let me get this right. The Star Tribune, i.e. the Red Star, writes an article about some poor guy who has to spend $100,000 on an electric BMW for his business, which he will write off part of the deductions on there so that he can haul his architect stuff around for his business. You know, his pocket protector and his slide rule. He needs a $100,000 car. Wham.
Okay, I'm not going to criticize the guy interviewed in the article. Obviously done very well for himself. Would have had to have worked up to become an architect, right? Isn't that what George wanted to be? Dreams of becoming an architect. Importer, exporter. He was interviewed by the Star Tribune to share his thoughts. So I'm not going to begrudge the guy. He's done well in life. And yeah, it would suck, regardless of how much money. It sucks for all of us to have to pay what we pay for our tab fees because of Democrats in this state. And again, in the back of my mind, fraud, fraud, fraud. All right, we'll get to the final House fraud report in just a moment. I do want to get back on track. I have a couple of clips regarding fraud that I wanted to share with you. First off, from Dr. Oz of the Trump administration, yesterday, along with Vice President J.D. Vance, held a press conference talking about the ongoing fraud nationwide, Los Angeles, Ohio, what the Trump administration is doing currently to go and rein in this fraud. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the year, this was my expectation, that the fraud issue wasn't going to be reserved and only focused on Minnesota. Minnesota was the starting point. And now what we're seeing is this fraud duplicated in other Democrat-led states across the country, of no surprise. Here's what Dr. Mehmet Oz had to say yesterday.
Unfortunately, we have a reality that, again, we got to face. A third of all hospices, a third of all these programs in the entire country are in Los Angeles. Ask yourself, how is that possible? It's not. There are not that many people dying in Los Angeles. We're not talking about California, just Los Angeles. So Kim and the team, with Janina Ugo and a bunch of other great folks, went through the list of all the people, and we believe that at least half of the hospices in the entire area around Los Angeles are fraudulent. And today we announced 800 of those hospices have been suspended. That's getting us, close to where we think we should be. 800 hospices that last year charged the federal taxpayer $1.4 billion will no longer be paid. Now, Mr. Vice President, if your core business was shut down by the federal government, would you call?
Yes.
You would call. Crickets. We have less than 20 who have complained. We're not even sure those are legitimate. 800 hospices shut down, and we're not hearing much. It's crickets out there. So we believe we're on the right path here. Next is a nationwide moratorium on all new hospice and home health care. Why is that possible? Because when we squeeze the balloon in California and slow their growth of hospice and now take away 800, the payments to 800 hospices, we know what those fraudsters do. They move to nearby Nevada. Next door, Nevada has a 7-fold increase in hospice already. Arizona, Texas, they're moving across the country. So we've today announcing a moratorium nationally. There will be no new hospices or home health care open in this country. If you have the program now, you can keep it. You can go to ones that already exist. We're not taking away any services, but there will be no new licenses granted until we can figure out a better way of working across government.
Now, here was the response to Mehmet Oz from Vice President J.D. Vance yesterday.
So, Dr. Oz, I want to make sure I understand this well. So you're saying that we kicked off 800 fraudulent healthcare providers off of the Medicare system, and not a single one of them called the government and said, hey, you made a mistake?
We've had a handful of calls. We're not sure they're legitimate yet, but it's less than 20 out of 800, and we're auditing them.
Unbelievable. So at least 780 are not even trying to claim that they're not fraudulent. And again, those are businesses that we were giving hundreds of millions, in some cases billions of dollars to, not to provide services, but to make a fraudster rich. It's just completely insane. Drives home the scale and scope of the problem.
And as the GOP-led Minnesota Fraud Prevention and Oversight Committee released their final report, and I'll provide details for you in just a moment here on Twin Cities News Talk, Democrats characterized the House Fraud Prevention and Oversight Committee as a political exercise that has done little to pass legislation. DFL Representative Dave Pinto, the Democrat lead on the committee, said the GOP's fraud committee report contained partisan nonsense and speculation. Everybody is mad about fraud, he says. Fraud has no political bias. That's funny. We are in a tight house. True progress requires collaboration. And we have seen that in other committees. We could have worked across the aisle in this committee as well, but this committee has been so committed to winning political points that it achieved nothing. Listen, we're going to get back to this in just a moment here on Twin Cities News Talk. We have your talk back of the day on the way. But we all know just how hypocritical it is for any DFLer to make that claim. We could have worked across the aisle, but this committee has been so committed to winning political points that it's achieved nothing. He pretty much just described every single piece of legislation that the House voted against presented by the DFL during this legislative session.
Jon Justice, mornings on Minnesota's Morning Home for the Truth. AM 1130, FM 103.5, and on iHeartRadio. For more information about contests on the station, go to TwinCitiesNewsTalk.com/rules.
From the Choice Bank Traffic Center.
We have delays on 94 westbound from Carmichael to St. Croix Trail, westbound from Cedar Avenue to Hennepin-Lyndale. 94 eastbound slow from Highway 610 to Weaver Lake. Got a crash eastbound at County Road 81. It's heavy 94 eastbound from Plymouth to Hennepin-Lyndale. I'm Maria Arnold, and that's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Choice Bank. If you're looking for a business bank that shows up as a strategic partner, meet Choice Bank. They pair real people with practical guidance, delivered with clarity, urgency, and care. Learn more at bankwithchoice.com. Member FDIC, and always people first, banking second.
Hello? Oh, hey, sorry to bother you, but I figured I'd try the back door since that's where the real opportunity is.
What do you mean?
Well, I noticed your backyard has more potential than it's getting credit for.
All right, I'm listening.
Picture a clean, beautiful paver patio right here. A place for the grill, a table, a couple of chairs, and we can tie everything together, huh? Driveways, walkways, concrete work, even landscaping.
Contact MN Pavers today at mnpavers.com, because sometimes opportunity shows up at your back door.
It's Jon Justice here for Window Nation. May's weather, it's pretty nice, but those hot summer days will be here soon. Don't wait until the heat hits to try to avoid the high energy bills. Upgrade your home's windows this month during Window Nation's Buy 4 and Get 4 free sale. Imagine replacing all your windows with new energy efficient ones and getting half of them for free. Plus, you can get them with no money down and no monthly payment or interest for 2 years. The sale ends soon, so visit windownation.com now to book a consultation.
Hey there, from Northern Fire Grilling and Barbecue Supply. We see it every day. Somebody buys a cheap grill, fights with it, replaces parts, and finally says, never again. Well, that's where Yoder comes in. Most pellet grills are built to sell, but Yoder smokers are built to last. Made in Kansas, heavy steel, rock solid temps, it's the last pellet grill you'll need to buy. So upgrade your backyard with a Yoder from Northern Fire. With assembly, delivery, and expertise, shop Yoder Smokers at Northern Fire Grilling and Barbecue Supply in Minnetonka. NorthernFireBBQ.com.
All right, no one likes talking about bad breath. So let's change the conversation and talk about how you can have fresh, clean breath. Most gum and mints are just fresh breath Band-Aids, and they fade fast. It's like spraying perfume on dirty laundry. It doesn't solve or fight the problem at the source. That's why we created Zellman's Minty Mouth, the long-lasting, functional breath freshener you swallow. With Zellman's, you can eat what you want and get the smell off your breath. Zellman's have become so popular because they really work. Don't believe me? Take the Zellman's challenge. Order Zellman's now with our Love Us or Your Money Back guarantee and join the millions who love the confidence of fresh, clean breath. Zellman's is not available in stores, so go to Zellmans.com, ZELMINS, and use the code RADIO for 15% off your first order. That's ZELMINS.com. Use the code RADIO for 15% off your first order. Zellmans.com.
In the Twin Cities, we know what real weather is. That's why you need quality that endures. At Window World, the quality is in the details. Our windows are engineered with 100% pure vinyl and fusion welded corners for superior strength. Backed by the Good Housekeeping Institute and our lifetime warranty, it's quality you can trust. If you're looking for premium windows and upfront pricing, Window World is ready to help.
Window World, simply the best for less.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Around here, people still work hard, go to church on Sunday, and mean it when they say God and country. That's where Jesse Eben comes from. 7 generations of Wisconsin roots, raised in the North Woods, faith, hard work, and love of country. Jessie isn't a career politician. She's a wife, a mom, and a businesswoman who's fought to keep good manufacturing jobs right here in Wisconsin. A Christian conservative who knocked thousands of doors for President Trump, Jessie believes in America first, not as a slogan, but as a way of life. Fiercely pro-life, 100% pro-gun, deport all illegals, no tax hikes, period. Like you, Jessie Eben is sick of the swamp BS. She'll fight to ban politicians from trading stocks and becoming lobbyists. Authentic, one of us. Conservative Republican Jesse Eben for Congress. Northwoods PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. NorthwoodsAction.com.
Homestead Road. Sell your home fast, simple, and stress-free. Go to homesteadroad.com. That's homesteadroad.com.
Sean Hannity, weekdays from 2 to 5.
Hello.
On Twin Cities News Talk AM 1130 and 103.5 FM. And on iHeartRadio with your smart speaker.
Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130, 103.5 FM. Been quite the morning. Just a quick hat tip to Devin for helping out. We were having some issues earlier this morning, man. It was kind of throwing you right into the fire there. I had no solutions for you. It's an all-new system. What are you going to do?
That's true. I definitely made up for the lack of anxiety from watching the Wild game last night. That's for sure.
For those that aren't aware and you tuned in late, right, you're like, what is he talking about? Yeah, we had some major technical problems in hour 2 of the show this morning, but I believe we've gotten them all sorted out, at least for now. We do have a Freedom Friday show tomorrow. Katherine Johnson, American Experiment, although I have not yet reached out to her, so I'd probably do that. I was planning on doing it earlier, but we were kind of busy. Also, Representative Max Reimer should be joining us along with A.K. Kamara as well. Earlier in the show, I want to just double back here briefly, and then I will get to the fraud report, I promise. But we were talking in the first hour about Democrats trying to gaslight America. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez publicly complaining that because the Virginia Supreme Court issued its ruling invalidating the newly gerrymandered congressional map after the referendum was over, the court should be under scrutiny for overturning the will of the people, according to her. What they're not saying, though, is that the Virginia Democrats demanded in litigation filed in with the court that no ruling be issued until after the referendum was over. So they're just gaslighting everybody. I have a few thoughts to share on this, but I bring this to your attention again because it is time for your Talk Back of the Day. Your Talk Back of the Day is brought to you by Minileaf and Minileaf.com, MINNELEAF.com. And congratulations to Steve this morning.
Good morning, John. Or Steve here in Excelsior. People like AOC and Hakeem Jeffries want to make you think that the Virginia Supreme Court overturned the will of the people when in fact they upheld their Constitution. And if they got their way, a true democracy is mob rule and damn the Constitution.
Yep.
See ya.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries had issued a statement immediately after the ruling, trashing the Virginia Supreme Court for overturning the will of the people. But as Justice Arthur Kelsey wrote in his May 8th opinion, the delay had been the Democrats' idea all along. In fact, they had presented several legal arguments in favor of it, citing precedent and saying that the court could not lawfully rule on the validity of the measure until it was adopted. Kelsey also made clear that the court was well aware the Democrats would attempt to turn the argument back on itself if they did not get their way, saying, doing that thing with my fingers, having successfully insisted that we postpone judicial review of the constitutional amendment until after the election process, it might be tempting for the Commonwealth to think that the final vote implicitly stacks the deck in its favor. Perhaps enough so that the exercise of any judicial review could be viewed as an ultra vires effort to overturn the will of the people. He concluded that Democrats were essentially, I think I pronounced that wrong, by the way. Either way, Democrats were essentially attempting to set up a situation in which precedent prohibited the court from ruling before the referendum was passed, and the will of the people barred the court from ruling afterwards, thus nullifying the court's ability to act at all. Democrats like Ocasio-Cortez are quickly proving that the judge was right. So a couple of things here. They knew that they could get more. The Democrats knew that they could get more narrative bang for their buck with controversy. They wanted to establish this idea of the will of the people being overturned, this argument. because more intelligent leftists were aware that the court was probably going to go and strike this down. So it was more beneficial for Democrats to wait to have the court go and strike it down and then use the argument to their own benefit. Again, it is all political theater. And what we're finding out, by the way, is that it's not really working on the American people. A new CNN poll should serve as a reality check for Democrats.
But I think this poll serves as a big-time reality check for Democrats, and that is, it ain't over yet, especially with the redistricting when we look ahead to the 2026 race for Congress. You would have thought that the Democrats' lead would expand on the generic congressional ballot. It didn't happen. Look, in March, Democrats were up by 6 points. Look at this now. Democrats are up by 3 points, and I want you to note the yellow lettering. No clear leader. It is within the margin of error. So despite all the talk about Donald Trump's unpopularity, the fact is Republicans very much remain in the game when it comes to the congressional midterms, which are occurring in, 6 or 7 months at this point? Yes.
By the way, this is a really good example of how the Republicans are doing a much better job countering the leftist narratives. It just takes a while for it to begin to sink in. That polling is a really good indicator than what conservative commentators, what are congressional Republicans, and even what's been happening at the state level is actually reaching the voters. They are beginning to understand the massive difference that we are faced with this current iteration of the Democrat Party, and it's now showing up in the polls. Now, is it going to be enough for Republicans to maintain their power after the midterms? Redistricting is certainly going to help out, but this is good news because Republicans have to work twice as hard, 3 times as hard to go and counter the lies and the false narratives on the left. And that poll demonstrates that there is some success in doing just that. Now, the House committee releasing the fraud report based on data collected from 25 hearings over the last 16 months. They say the $9 billion figure cited in the report, which has been questioned by the Walz administration, was an estimate by the former U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson. Key agencies investigated in the committee included the Minnesota Child Care Assistance, $100 million, House Stabilization Services, $100 million, Autism Services, 90% of the reimbursements flagged as problematic, Integrated Community Supports, Adult Day Services, Assisted Living, Paid Family Medical Leave. They also flagged the extensive scope of Feeding Our Future. The Republican committee attributed the enabling of the rampant fraud to the negligence and mismanagement of the last 2 Democratic governor administrations, current Governor Tim Walz and former Governor Mark Dayton. As I mentioned earlier, Democrats criticized the House Fraud and Oversight Committee, saying it's a political exercise. And that quote from Pinto, we could have worked across the aisle on this committee, but this committee has been so committed to winning political points it achieved nothing. If that's the case, then why did they sign off on the Officer of Inspector General? They signed off on the Officer of Inspector General because they knew they were losing the argument in the court of public opinion and they couldn't hide from it anymore. Republican Fraud Committee Chair Representative Kristen Robbins says we have not been disrespectful to the agencies. We've asked hard questions, but we've given them every opportunity to present their case, and they have not disrespected the public or the whistleblowers. It got too big for them to go and ignore. Speaking of scoring political points, by the way, this is a fun one. Minnesota Democrat Senator Aaron May Quaid falsely claimed that a non-existent law passed ended up saving a constituent's life. The Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus was quick to go and point out the falsehood. So this goes back to May 5th, wherein you had the leftist X account at Heartland Signal. It's one of my favorite things that happens when the Minnesota DFL, the House DFL, the Senate DFL, or accounts like Heartland Signal end up putting up these posts thinking that they're dunking on Republicans when all it ends up doing is exposing the lies that are being told and the false narratives that are being pushed in the propaganda by Democrats. And this is a prime example, as Heartland Signal posted this clip of Aaron May Quaid telling a really interesting story.
I was in the library in my community and a woman came up to me and she said, "You saved my life." I'd never met her before.
And I said, great. How? And she said, the 24-hour waiting period that you passed in 2023. I was feeling suicidal. I went to go buy a gun and I had to wait. And I'm alive today because of it. Gun regulations save lives. Laws save lives. If there is even one child that lives in this state that doesn't die because of gun violence, it is worth doing this today. And to the parents and the advocates who have worked tirelessly, of course, over the last 8 months.
I'm just getting teary-eyed.
But for years, to make Minnesota safer, a safer place to live, to grow, to go to school or church or the synagogue or the mosque, to go to the grocery store, to the movie theater, drive. Thank you. Senator Port said that this is very controversial in this chamber. It is. It's partisan here, but it is not partisan in our communities. This is the only room in Minnesota where what we are passing today is partisan. Our state and our communities are begging for us to do something, to move our feet. And today I'm proud to vote green to do so. Thank you, Mr. President.
I got a vibe from that. It's a new buzzword on the show, right? Don't want to overuse it. But I will in this case. I got a vibe from that whole thing. It was like she was giving an acceptance speech. Like she's being handed a performance award by the DFL. I just thank you so much to my friends, to my family, and most importantly, Allah. Thank you so much for this award today. I couldn't do it without you. So this happened during a floor debate. This story about how she's seen firsthand the positive effects of previous North Star state gun control efforts. Unfortunately, though, she was lying the entire time. Listen, I'll just read what the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus wrote in response to this. Minnesota does not have a 24-hour waiting period.
Oh my gosh, can you above average at that?
We have absolutely no idea what Senator May Quaid is referencing here. But as the article that I have in front of me goes on to say, and they're absolutely right. Fortunately for her, nobody in Minnesota's so-called mainstream media seems to care at all. Had a Republican gone and made a claim like that, though, oh my gosh, you can only imagine the outrage that would have ensued in the wake of such blatant lies. All right, keeping with the theme of the ridiculous. Minnesota House DFL lawmakers, led by Representative Samantha Sensor-Mura, they're making some threats, saying that if Speaker Demuth doesn't present a comprehensive gun prevention bill, some stuff's going to go down. That's right. The bill, inspired by the Annunciation Church shooting, includes bans on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. It's, of course, has stalled in the House, appropriately so. Speaker Demuth claims the bill is being reviewed and will be presented when ready, but threats are being made. What exactly is Representative DFLer Samantha Sensor-Mura threatening to do? Well, courtesy of Fox 9, here's the story. They're going to do a sit-in.
I recognize a member from Hennepin, Representative Sensor-Mura.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to make an announcement that Speaker Demuth has 24 hours to report the bill from the Senate, Senate File 4067, which is the comprehensive package on gun violence prevention. If Speaker Demuth does not report this bill by 5 p.m. tomorrow on Thursday, May 14th, I, along with other members of this body, will engage in an overnight sit-in here in the chamber. We will be doing this.
I love how she waited for the applause line.
Oh my gosh, can you above average at that?
We will be doing this for the community of Annunciation, the parents and families of Harper Moisky and Fletcher Merkel.
Isn't this so typical, by the way? We're doing this for all these people. No, you're not. You're doing it for yourself. It is a completely self-centered act. The individuals you're referencing, first off, She's being embarrassing too. She's being insulting. I know, in her mind, this is activism, right? This is what Democrats do, especially here in Minnesota. But what an insult. We're going to do a sit-in.
And for everyone across Minnesota who has lost someone to gun violence. Again, I rise today to make the announcement that Speaker Demuth has 24 hours to let us do something about guns. If she does not, I will begin my sit-in, and I invite my colleagues on any side of the aisle and on the right side of history to join me. Speaker Demuth, what are you so afraid of? Let us vote, or we will sit. Thank you.
Let us vote, or we will sit. And then we will sit more. And then we will sit crisscross applesauce. And don't you dare make us chant. Don't you dare make us rhyme. We'll bring in our drums. We'll bang on those as we sit. What are we doing? What is going on? The article from Fox 9 made me chuckle a little bit. The announcement came with scattered applause. Gun control has been a hot topic of the legislative session after two state lawmakers and their spouses were, of course, shot last June, and the shooting that took place at Annunciation Church and School. Listen, it's all tragic, and I'm certainly not making light of that. I'm making light of the fact that this is ridiculous, that they're threatening to do a sit-in if they don't get their way. Grab your carpet squares, DFLers. Fox 9's Corinne Hogard reporting about the 20 DFL lawmakers have already confirmed their participation. Some senators plan to join in. Great, let them sit in. Let them get all the attention in the world, please, by all means. Let them put on full display just how utterly ridiculous and what a clown show the Democrat Party has become here in Minnesota. They will continue the sit-in even if the House is in session. And then overnight until the next House session starts, it coincides with the Everytown petition delivery today with more than 7,000 signatures asking Speaker Demuth to take the action on a bill passed 8 days ago in the Senate. Representative Jamie Long has been asking where it is every day since last Thursday, and Demuth has largely been absent lately because she's in negotiations most, if not all, days.
Wait, I got a better one. We'll go back to that if it saves one life check. If it saves one life to ban any trans person from having a gun.
Wow, that's crazy, John. The Democrats are going to do a sit-in? You mean they're going to act like Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts in the Congress? Sure, okay, I guess.
And let's just speak to the fact that, again, when it comes to this budget cycle and you look at what the DFL was looking to put forward and what the House ended up stopping, the Republicans did a good job. There has to be some negotiation involved, and we'll certainly talk about this tomorrow on the show with Representative Max Reimer when he joins us to get his thoughts on the budget deal that was worked out that we talked about earlier in the show. But make no mistake, the Republicans were able to shut down a lot of ridiculous nonsense, including this big one that they need to hold firm on.
Good morning, John. Oh my gosh, the Democrats are actually going to work. Did you hear that? They're going to have a sit-in, which means that they're going to actually be at the Capitol. Maybe if the Republicans stay, they can actually do other work, even though they don't present the bill. It would just be hilarious. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
You know, it's funny that you make that comment because I actually had that in my notes. Whether or not this sit-in will actually make up for the months that they didn't bother to show up for work last year during the legislative session.
Morning, John. Todd from St. Paul. I wish these Democrats would care the same way they care about so-called assault weapons. How about get us our money back that was stolen from us? How about do your job that way? You know Minnesota's hurting, but yet you're doing this ridiculous. That's all I got to say. It's ridiculous. Get us our money back. How about that? Have a good one.
You have a good one as well. And to everybody listening this morning, thank you so much for hanging out on the show. I greatly appreciate it. Sorry for the technical problems. We should be all straightened out and ready to go tomorrow for a Freedom Friday. Some question marks are who's going to be in studio. So I know Representative Max Reimer will be here. And then some combination of Catherine and Grace and A.K. Kamar, although I'm hearing that he might be out of town. He is out of town. All right, so I got to reach out to Catherine and Grace to see if they can both come in tomorrow for a Freedom Friday. I'm looking forward to tomorrow and everything working properly. If you missed the show today that we were able to put on, check out the podcast available up on the iHeartRadio app and have yourself a fantastic Thursday. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. You guys are the best.
From the Choice Bank Traffic Center.
Good morning. We have delays on 494 westbound from Lindale to Highway 100. There's an accident 694 westbound at University on the right. It's heavy from Silver Lake. Crosstown slow eastbound Gleason to 100 westbound from 35W to Penn. I'm Maria Arnold, and that's your latest total traffic.
This report is sponsored by Gunderson Jewelers in Wayzata. Have you heard about Gunderson's bridal package? You can save big on both rings, plus a dinner gift, free warranty, and engraved champagne flutes for your big day. Even 12-month no-interest financing. Gunderson's. A moment, a memory, a lifetime. Visit downtown Wayzata or Gundersons.com.
If you saved more than $500,000, there's one thing you could do right now that can make your savings go twice as far in retirement. You heard me right, twice as far. And it's tax planning. Tax planning could significantly reduce the taxes in your IRA and 401k withdrawals, Social Security benefits, and other investment income. Find out how much money you could save with a free Tax Smart tax review from the good people at Secured Retirement in the Twin Cities. To schedule your free review, call 952-521-4360. That's 952-521-4360. The tax savings could be significant and potentially add up to 6 figures in retirement. So let's find out how much money you could save. To schedule your free Tax Smart tax review, call 952-521-4360. That's 952-521-4360.
Hello?
Oh, hey, sorry to bother you, but I figured I'd try the back door since that's where the real opportunity is.
What do you mean?
Well, I noticed your backyard has more potential than it's getting credit for.
All right, I'm listening.
Picture a clean, beautiful paver patio right here. A place for the grill, a table, a couple of chairs, and we can tie everything together, huh? Driveways, walkways, concrete work, even landscaping.
Contact MN Pavers today at mnpavers.com because sometimes opportunity shows up at your back door.
Hey there, from Northern Fire Grilling and Barbecue Supply. We see it every day. Somebody buys a cheap grill, fights with it, replaces parts, and finally says, never again. Well, that's where Yoder comes in. Most pellet grills are built to sell, but Yoder smokers are built to last. Made in Kansas, heavy steel,